Disclaimer, the following presentation, otherwise known as a cursed Conlang, is incredibly disturbing.
Hey, wake up. Stop dreaming. The presentation is about to start. Stop mumbling and get up. We're late. What's that? Are you trying to make words? I bet you're too tired to remember how to English correctly. Listen, buddy, there is no language out there that lets you mumble up nonsense and make up everything as you go.
Hi, my name's Flaming Fish, and this is Wakey-Wakey. As you know, this language is natively spoken by over 90% of the world's population, and while it is an auxiliary language, there is no documentation about it anywhere. Even though I only started learning this language 2 months ago, I feel like I have a duty to share this with you. How could I deprive the world of a language optimized for when you wake up?
Pause if you want to read.
Phonology. Wakey-Wakey has 2 forms of harmony that combine to make 4 registers for each word. So for example, we have non-creaky and creaky, as well as non-nasalized and nasalized. These combine together to make 4 forms for each sound. Each word has only 1 form. If a word is F-P-L-O-G, which most of them are, they will always be non-nasalized and non-creaky. The register that it's in has a few grammatical properties, and it also changes the way it's spelled. Each sound is a trigraph of 3 key mashes, with the key mash being based off of the row that the register is. These are the sounds in Wakey-Wakey. Pretty much none of them are in my native English, so I'm probably going to mispronounce all of them, especially the ones that can't be pronounced. And the vowels are I. Syllable structure is a consonant, then a vowel, then either, but it has to have 3 sounds in it. Maternal trees. I'm going to be using English words as an example just to make it easier to describe. When something is a daughter of something else, it describes it. So for example, if we have black as a daughter of dog, black modifies its mother, makes black dog. Each time you create a new node, you coin a completely new name for it. This is not something in the vocab, this is just something that you come up with yourself. For example, dog, you gave it the name Wooby, and black, you gave it the name Gooby. To actually add something to the tree, to the diagram, what you'd say is you say the mother's name, the daughter's name, and then the type. We'll go over this later. Let's say you have the word dog in the tree, and you want to say that it's black. You take the dog's name, Wooby, and then you create a new name for the black node. We'll call it Gooby, and then you say its type, which is the word black. In this situation, you would say Wooby, Gooby, black. The names that you give the nodes can be used again. The names here work as identifiers, and you can use them whenever you want. Let's say after a while you realize, wait, I want to specify that the dog is cute. Well, you can add a second node here, say Wooby, blibbity bobble, cute. You just said that the dog is cute, even way after you stopped talking about the dog. You can always go back to something you've said. Also, let's say you want to describe something else that is black, you can use the word gooby again. Maybe it's the same kind of shade of black that the dog is. Conversations in Wakey-Wakey are like a brainstorm. You can modify the thing that your conversation partner is saying. All of it fits under the same tree. For example, you might say that there is a cat, and then the other person might add on that it's female. This also means that you can refute or negate things that other people are saying. However, once a conversation ends, you can no longer use these words because the new person that you're talking to won't know what you're talking about because they weren't there for the rest of the conversation. This means that you effectively have to start over from scratch every time you start a new conversation. There is also one special word, nga. This word does break phonotactics, but that is a small price to pay for how cool it is. When you say nga, all of the vocabulary gets reset. It essentially acts as a, sorry, I was too tired to pay attention. Could you repeat what you just said? You can also redefine pre-existing words in the vocabulary. Let's say, for example, you're in a debate and you want to make an evidentiality system. You can edit the old word for verb phrase and change it to say verb phrase that I saw firsthand, and then make a new word that means verb phrase that I heard via word of mouth. By doing that, now the other person will have to use those new words that you made. And since you changed the original one, they can't go back to just say verb phrase. Wait, if everything is part of one sentence in one tree, how do you actually convey information? Restrictiveness. Remember those registers from earlier? Well, they actually have grammatical properties. When something is not creaky, it is restrictive. And when something is creaky, it is non-restrictive. The words that these have are fun police versus awesome sauce, because non-restrictive words are cool. Restrictiveness is basically whether a word adds information or narrows something down. I'm going to split the sentence, the black dog ran, into one where black is restrictive and one where it's non-restrictive. We have two sentences. The dog that is black ran versus the dog who is black ran. Native English speakers know that this one matches this one. They pretty much say the same thing, maybe slightly different. However, an English speaker will tell you that the dog who is black ran is not the same as the black dog ran. When you say the black dog ran, it's like you're saying there's many dogs and I'm talking about the black one. When you're saying the dog who is black ran, it's there's a dog, it's black, and it runs. This one is adding extra information while this one is narrowing it down. That is how it works in Wakey-Wakey. When something is awesome sauce, it is adding information. When it's fun police, it's narrowing it down. It's being specific. When a word is nasalized, it is not like other girls. This makes it negated. Let me give an example. I'm just kidding, you get it. Wait, what was this language about again? If you really want to map out a conversation in Wakey-Wakey, you're going to have to utilize a second tree. You know how I said mother name type earlier? I lied. Children need two parents, a mother and a father. So far, we've only given names and relationships between nodes, but they don't actually have any semantic meaning yet. This is what we use fathers for. When you have a son of a father in the paternal tree, it essentially acts like a copy of its father. This is how you can actually have semantic meaning. I'm gonna give a quick example. Right now we have two trees, the maternal tree and the paternal tree. For nodes, I'm just gonna be referring to them by letters because I don't really feel like doing actual language right now. Let's say you managed to make the word dog. So first off, in the tree, we're going to say that you did noun phrase, and as a son of noun phrase, you had the node Y, which means dog. And then here in the maternal tree, you actually need to give semantic meaning to Y. And we're gonna skip this step, but basically you did a bunch of crazy shenanigans and you managed to make Y mean dog. Now let's say you wanna make a second dog. Well, since you already have dog here, instead of redoing all of these steps, you can just copy Y. So as a son, instead of a son of noun phrase, we have it as a son of Y. In this, we're gonna call it Z, and we'll maybe have it be like black dog. Now, this doesn't actually have any information yet. We are calling it black dog. It doesn't mean black yet. Right now, all it means is dog. Let's say that we want to have a color system in place if we want to use more colors later. We're gonna make W. W will also be a noun phrase. W is gonna mean color. Now let's say we want to make the color black. Well, we do so. As a son of W, of color, we have a new kind of color, black. We're gonna call this V, which means black. Now every node needs a mother and a father. Since we're going to apply V to Z anyway to make Z mean black dog, we can just put it here now and then describe V as being black. We could have added V as a separate branch here, but since we're adding it to Z anyway, it doesn't really matter. We're gonna add it to Z to save time. So now V means black, and Z finally means black dog. Perfect. But there's more that we can do here. If you ever want to talk about another black dog, you can make a son of Z, and then boom, that'll be another black dog that you can talk about. We're not going to do that right now. What we are going to do right now is try to create the concept of a brown dog. Its father is going to be Y, because we're talking about a new dog. It's very easy to run out of space. So we're just going to have this snake around here, and we're going to have this be S, which is going to be brown dog. Doesn't mean brown dog yet, but it will. We just have to go through a few steps. Then we add it to the maternal tree. We're just going to add it like up here. Then we're going to want to make it mean brown. How do we make the word brown? That's right, a new son of color. We're gonna call this one T. T is gonna mean brown. On the maternal tree, we're gonna add T to S because it's faster, and then we're gonna have it mean brown. So now we have Y meaning dog, Z meaning black dog, W meaning color, S meaning brown, and V meaning black. We can now reuse these anytime we want. Want to make a new color? Son of W. Want to make a new black dog? Son of Z. Want to make a new color that's kind of like black? Son of V. There's one last interesting thing we can do here. Changing the father changes all of its sons. Let's change Y to instead mean little dog after we did all of this. Now, instead of Z meaning black dog, it now means like black puppy. S, instead of meaning brown dog, it means brown puppy. When you change the father of something, all of its sons change with it. It's not like a one-time copy. They're linked, you know? However, when you change the son, you do not change the father. It's only from father to son. There may be an instance where the mother and the father are the same. For example, for the concept of infinity, you could have something that is recursively defined as something bigger than itself. When you do this, you have a strong single mother who fulfills the role of the mother and the father. And thus, you don't actually have to say the father. You can just omit it. It's null. When you've just woken up, it's really difficult to remember stuff. An English speaker who just woke up will probably have an easier time remembering words like this or that, rather than words like fruit or mustalloid. This distinction is called deictic versus anaphoric. Deictic words are words that all have to do with the context, the surrounding, like this, that, here, now, there, while anaphoric words are all about the information that is abstract, like the gym, the desk, the library. You know, it's stuff that you probably don't have in your current context, very abstract, arbitrary concepts. Wakey-Wakey has almost exclusively deictic words. This is because it is a lot easier to remember deictic words because you're using them equally all the time. The word orange, like the color, is very useful in English for when you want to describe something that is orange. However, if you don't need to say the word orange, then it's just another vocabulary word that you have to remember. Meanwhile, in Wakey-Wakey, all words are pretty much equally useful or very similarly useful because they all describe stuff around you. Deictic words are useful in every context because they describe stuff that is in the context. Whoa, hold your horses, fun police. This still is an actual language. Even though Wakey-Wakey uses mostly deictic words, they're not all deictic. There are very few anaphoric words. Any arbitrary concept should theoretically be possible in Wakey-Wakey because when you're speaking Wakey-Wakey, it's not just you in a void. You have a physical presence and you are surrounded by a bunch of stuff, especially when you're in a bedroom, which is the most often place you speak it in. Yes, theoretically, if you were in a blank void and you were nothing and your conversation partner was nothing, this language wouldn't be possible. But also, you're in a blank void. Why would you want to speak Wakey-Wakey in a blank void? Let's consider Starmock, Tamarian, and 2 colons from CCC entries. Those are languages and they all revolve around the context of a story. It's still considered a language just because the 3 languages have a big enough story. My argument is that when you're in a bedroom, or when you're just existing in the world, there is so much around you that you can refer to that it is possible to describe any concept.
Pause if you want to read.
Remember, the best defense is a good offense. If this isn't a language, some of the other CCC languages aren't either. Everything is based off of this. This is just the null phoneme. It's nothing. It just means phrase. Whenever you start a conversation, it is a child of that, basically. Then we have nominal phrase, which is essentially like the stuff. This is anything at all. It just kind of means like thing. You add on stuff to it to describe stuff. Verb phrase, is like an action, usually a relationship between 2 nominals. And then adpositional phrase. This is where things get weird. Let's take the phrase person, animal. We have animal as the mother and person as the daughter. Person is modifying animal. Now, this would probably seem like maybe an ape because it's an animal that is like a person. But what if we wanted person to modify it differently? This is where adpositional phrases come in. They tell you how the daughter affects the mother. Let's say that we have the adposition of. Now, this becomes the animal of the person. And this could mean something like pet. Note that this works differently from how sometimes in syntax trees you'd have of first, and here of is below this. If you're confused about this, we'll go over this a little bit later. Okay, those weren't the only words in the vocabulary. There's a lot more that we're going to go over, but I don't really think it's very useful for me to write down all of them here, so we'll just go through most of them and see what they do. Say something in Wakey-Wakey. Oh my gosh, they're fluent. In Wakey-Wakey, you have words for near and far, as well as words for partial and somewhat. This creates 6 kind of core distances that are most often used. But of course, you could always create more. Near is arm's length. Partial near is a dart throw. Somewhat near is like where you could hear someone if they were to call out to you without straining their voice. Full far is just like beyond. It's the abyss. It's incredibly far away. Partial far is within maybe walking distance. Somewhat far is within view. Left and right are how you make angles. In this language, angles are actually made up of 2 angles. Since we have conflicting terminology, let's call these things angles, and this arc section and Arkansas. The S is like Puerto Rican Spanish, where it's kind of pronounced, kind of not really. To create an Arkansas, you keep bisecting an Arkansas with left and right. Usually, it's implied to start from the first person's facing direction. So for example, let's say we say left here, we bisect it, and then we only keep the left side. So now we're working with this, and our new angle is facing this way. Let's say we want to say right. Well, we bisect it again, we keep the right side, so then we kill this. Now we are facing in this direction. We can keep going. Let's say left this time. Take it out, get rid of the right side, we keep the left. Now we're going in this direction. You can just keep bisecting it until you get the perfect angle that you want. To do this, you would just add the words left and right as daughters of each other and just keep going down in a chain. Sometimes angles are also made by giving 2 points, for example saying from point A to point B, and because of this, you never say that an angle is from the first person's perspective, because if you say that, then you're saying it is from the starting point of the first person. Because of this, it is always implied to start from the first person. Oh, actually, I forgot to mention something, but I already drew something else. When you have 2 points, then you can know the direction and the distance. When you have a distance, a point, and a direction, you can know the final point. And you use that point in space to describe, like, the thing you're describing. Like, oh yeah, that thing over there at that direction, at this angle from my starting point. Unfortunately, this language has verbs. I know this may offend some of you. I know a lot of you are cursed Conlang Circus participants, and I'm sorry if this is disturbing or upsetting, but it's just what it is. The verbs work pretty simply. You have active verbs and passive verbs, as well as the verb phrase we went over earlier. But active and passive are kind of like whether you're like consciously putting effort in or if it's kind of just happening.
Pause if you want to read.
You can apply somewhat impartial to these, pretty self-explanatory. You also have agent markers and patient markers. Those are adpositional phrases. Some of you awake viewers may have noticed a huge issue with this. Remember how the son has all of the attributes of its father in the paternal tree? What truly happens is the son copies all of the daughters of its father. However, we don't mark this in the maternal tree because it's big and can lead to infinite diagrams due to recursion. Because of this, doesn't it make it useless to copy a verb for reuse if it carries over the subject and object information it was last used for? Actually, no. When this happens, 2 things don't get copied over: the father's adpositions and any awesome sauce information. Since subjects and objects are almost always awesome sauce, they aren't copied when making the son of a verb. If a subject or an object is an awesome sauce, then it acts more of a modifier anyway, so it's useful to carry over. Adpositions. I mean, I'm calling them adpositions. I don't know what they're actually called. You'll probably recognize a lot of these kind of like cases, but there's a few special ones that we need to go over. Remember, an adposition works by detailing the relationship between its mother and its grandmother. Purple is a daughter of brown, and blue is an adposition and a daughter of purple. The relationship between purple to brown is described by blue. Let's say blue is genitive here. This could mean brown is of purple. Qualitative is an interesting one. Let's say we have you, followed by Rudolph, followed by the qualitative adposition. This guy's name is Rudolph, by the way. Say hi. Now, when you have the qualitative, you take an attribute that is shared by both. In fact, you end up taking all the attributes, so sometimes you have to narrow it down even more. But the major attribute that you, the viewer, share with Rudolph is that you're cute. So right here, we can write cute. This node right here no longer means you. Even though its father is the second person, it actually means cute. If we wanted to describe a majestic looking snake, we could say that it is cute by using this second person Rudolph qualitative. Now you can kind of see how adpositions are really, really powerful. The last thing we have to go over is what I'm going to be calling anti-context. I don't really know if there's a good term for it, so I'm just calling it this. It essentially acts like a gnomic or something that is generally the case, but not necessarily within the current context. For example, if you want to describe a cake eater, you would say someone is eating cake, and then you would use anti-context. Be like, they're eating cake generally, but not necessarily in this context. That's about it. We can get to the translation now. There's a lot of steps that go into translating the sentence, what a majestic serpent. For example, you're going to need to translate the word. Oh, what are you doing? Are you locking into frame? My guy. I'm almost done, please. I need to get this done before sundown. As I was saying, there's a lot of steps that go into translate. There's a lot of sense in going to translating what a majestic serpent. For example, you need to translate serpent, but obviously there's no word for serpent, so you're probably going to have to do the thing that is generally in grass. How do you translate grass? Well, that's the thing that's below you, and that is near. But how do you translate below? Well, what you can do is you can go the direction from the eyes to the mouth. How do you translate eyes? Well, that's the thing that you use to see. How do you translate see? To see, it's the thing that is far away from you. It's a active verb phrase that the first person is doing that is somewhat active. To translate mouth, it's pretty much the same thing, action from first person to second person, that is speech, and mouth is instrumental. And then for majestic, we went over this earlier, you're a cutie, Rudolph's a cutie, we do the qualitative thing. Oh, and I'm also not translating the rest of the text. This entire sentence took me over a month. Alright, translation time. The context is, I am standing on grass. There are sometimes snakes here, and Rudolph is on my left. Obviously, you and I have mouths, ears, all of that. We're physical beings, and that you, the viewer, are attractive. Yeah. Red, That's kind of it. I probably got all of that wrong, but I'm not doing this again. After watching this video, you are now a Wakey-Wakey master. You're just gonna be fluent. So you wake up and then suddenly you can just speak your heart's desire. No need to deep back into the trenches of your mind to try to figure out the actual words you need to say. I'd like to thank everyone who helped make this possible. That's really mainly Agma Schwa, of course, for hosting the competition. Eternal for helping organize the rules and telling me what I can and can't do. There was a lot of that. I appreciate you, especially letting me only do like the first sentence. Huge thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks to my parents for like letting me have the time to do this and like putting up with me while I was practicing. As you can tell, I'm very small. I still live with my parents. Thank you to all the people on the N.L.O.G Chord CCC chat. It was fun getting all your inspiration and suggestions, and I really appreciate all of you. That seems like it's it, so sweet dreams, so long, and thanks for all the fish.